Ethan Carter had been walking through the dense, glowing forests of Xyler 7 for hours, careful with every step. The air here had a faint hum, as if the planet itself were alive. Strange plants glowed in soft blues and greens, illuminating the paths just enough to show roots and rocks hidden in the undergrowth. Ethan was on a mission, a survey of Xyler 7 for human colonization teams, but he knew this was not just another assignment. The planet had mysteries, and he had a feeling he was about to encounter one. He moved silently, his eyes scanning the surroundings. The forest felt alive, almost watching him. Each step made a faint vibration on the ground, which was unusual for a planet of this size. Ethan could see strange structures ahead, half hidden among the trees. They were enormous monoliths, smooth and angular, made from an unknown metal that shimmered faintly in the soft glow of Xyler 7 atmosphere. The structures were not natural, and Ethan's pulse quickened. He had seen similar readings on his sensors, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. A sudden rustle of leaves behind him made him freeze. Ethan turned slowly, expecting wildlife, perhaps a predator native to this planet. But what he saw made him take an involuntary step back. A figure moved through the trees, tall and graceful, almost ethereal. She was humanoid but clearly alien, her body covered in shimmering armor that looked almost alive. The armor reflected the glowing lights of the forest, making her appear like a moving jewel. Her eyes, large and blue, glowed faintly, and Ethan felt as if they were looking straight into his mind. Before he could react, she lunged. Her speed was astonishing. His reflexes saved him from being knocked over, but her hand grabbed his wrist with a strength that startled him. He had expected her to attack, but instead she held him firm, her gaze steady. The moment their eyes met, he heard words in his mind, clear and calm. "Only my husband may remove my armor." Ethan froze. He had no idea how he understood her, yet the words were clear. This was no ordinary encounter. He could feel her tension, the restrained power beneath her grip. She was not threatening him in the usual sense, but her stance was defensive, almost protective. It was then that he noticed the small cracks and dents on her armor. Something had happened to her, something violent, and she was alone. Before he could respond, a soft vibration ran through the ground. Shadows moved in the mist. From the trees, strange mechanical forms emerged, glinting metal bodies with sharp edges and multiple legs that clicked against the forest floor. They were alien drones, clearly hunters, and they moved with intelligence, coordinating their approach. Ethan understood instantly that they were not here for him, they were here for her. Acting on instinct, Ethan pulled her slightly behind him and drew his sidearm. The first drone leaped at him, and he fired, a pulse of energy hitting it squarely and sending it tumbling into the underbrush. Another lunged from above, and he rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding its claws. The alien woman, instead of retreating, moved with fluid precision, guiding him with gestures, pointing to safe paths and warning of traps. Her telepathic presence was overwhelming, but she did not speak directly. Her words were images, feelings, and fleeting visions. Through the chaos, Ethan glimpsed flashes of her memories. Cities of crystalline towers, alien skies lit with twin suns, and creatures with wings made of light. Then, images of violence, of ships attacking her people, of countless lives lost. He understood then that she was carrying not just herself, but a legacy. Her armor was more than protection. It was a vessel of knowledge, perhaps the last remnants of her civilization. The drones advanced relentlessly. Ethan and the alien woman ran through the forest, leaping over roots and ducking under branches. Her grip never loosened, her presence guiding him through paths he could not see. Every now and then he felt a spark of connection, a sense of understanding between them. Despite the danger, he felt a strange calm in her presence, as if she had chosen him for a reason. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The forest opened into a clearing where the light shimmered in unusual patterns. She pulled him to a halt and crouched low, pointing to a thin ridge of rocks. "Here," she said in his mind, a command and a warning all at once. Ethan followed, understanding he had to act quickly. The drones were close, their clicking and whirring filling the air. Ethan positioned himself behind a large rock, waiting for the right moment. When they reached the clearing, he fired his weapon again, striking one of the drones in its central core. Sparks flew, and the drone collapsed. The alien woman moved swiftly, using her agility to disable another, dismantling parts of its structure with precise strikes. Together, they created a path through the clearing, and then, in a sudden blur, she vanished into the shadows. Ethan stumbled forward, looking around, confused and alarmed. She had disappeared without warning, leaving him alone in the strange forest. His pulse raced, and he tried to calm himself. Then he heard her voice in his mind again, soft, almost a whisper. "You are my chosen." The words sent a chill down his spine. Ethan had faced danger before, had fought in skirmishes and survived hostile terrain, but this was unlike anything he had ever encountered. This woman, this alien, had somehow chosen him for a purpose he did not yet understand. He realized that helping her was no longer optional. It was a responsibility, one that might determine the survival of her people. Determined, he pushed forward, following the faint trail she had left. The forest became denser, the glow of the plants dimmer as night fell over Xyler 7. Ethan's sensors detected movement ahead, more drones, moving in patterns he could not predict. He realized that the woman's enemies were intelligent, capable of learning from their mistakes. He needed to reach her before it was too late. As he moved cautiously, he reflected on the events that had led him here. A simple survey mission had turned into something far greater. He was no longer just a scout. He was a protector, a guardian of knowledge and life. The alien woman had placed her trust in him, though he barely knew her. The phrase repeated in his mind, echoing like a mantra. "Only my husband may remove my armor." He didn't know what it meant yet, but he felt its weight. The connection she had established was not just physical. It was a bond, mystical and profound. It was clear that their fates were intertwined, and that understanding her and protecting her were the same task. Hours turned into an uncertain stretch of time. The forest seemed endless, filled with unseen dangers. Ethan's every step was cautious, every sound analyzed. Then he saw her again, standing atop a small ridge, her armor catching the dim light in a display that seemed almost ceremonial. She raised her hand not to attack, but to signal him. Ethan moved closer, careful not to startle her. Before he could speak or gesture, a new set of drones emerged, faster and more aggressive than the first. Ethan felt the adrenaline surge. He fired, took cover, and moved strategically. The alien woman moved in harmony with him, almost as if they had been training together for years. She struck with precision, disabling the drones with non-lethal force, using their own designs against them. Through the battle, Ethan glimpsed her telepathic projection again. This time it was a warning. Her people had been hunted nearly to extinction. Her armor was more than protection. It was a repository of memories, of history, of everything her civilization had survived. If it were destroyed, everything would be lost. Ethan understood the stakes clearly. The drones were finally neutralized, either disabled or retreating into the forest. Ethan and the alien woman stood amidst the quiet, the only sounds the hum of the forest and their shared breathing. She approached him slowly, deliberately. Her eyes searched his face, and he felt a profound connection. Then, without breaking eye contact, she vanished again, slipping into the forest with an elegance that defied human understanding. Ethan stood still, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He did not fully understand what had just happened, nor the exact nature of the bond she had imposed on him. But one thing was certain. The alien woman had chosen him, and the fate of her people, her knowledge, and perhaps the future of Xyler 7 now rested, at least in part, in his hands. As night fell over the glowing forest, Ethan prepared himself. He would follow her, face whatever dangers awaited, and prove that humanity, even alone in a strange world, could rise to the challenge. The words echoed in his mind one last time before sleep overtook him. "Only my husband may remove my armor." He did not yet know what it meant, but he knew he would discover it, and that discovering it would change everything. Ethan awoke to the faint glow of Xyler 7 bioluminescent flora, the alien forest stretching endlessly in every direction. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of strange pollen and the faint hum of energy that seemed to pulse through the trees themselves. His body ached from the previous night's chase, yet his mind was sharper than ever. The words she had whispered in his mind repeated over and over. "Only my husband may remove my armor." They haunted him not like a threat, but like a promise, an unspoken connection that bound him to someone he barely understood. He rose cautiously, scanning the surroundings. Every rustle in the underbrush made him tense. The forest was alive with movement, creatures of unfamiliar design slinking through the mist, and in the distance, the faint glint of the alien woman's armor caught his eye. She was already moving, and though he did not know how, he understood he had to follow her. The forest, despite its beauty, was treacherous. Roots twisted like serpents across the paths, and the ground was uneven, dotted with glowing fungi that hid sudden drops and sharp stones. As Ethan moved, he tried to recall everything he had learned the night before. Her armor was not ordinary. It shimmered with light and seemed to respond to her presence, perhaps even to his. The armor held her memories, her people's history, and now he knew the stakes were higher than he had imagined. If anything happened to it, the knowledge it carried would vanish forever. Her people, possibly the last of their kind, were depending on him without even speaking it aloud. After hours of careful tracking, Ethan spotted signs that she had passed through recently, scorch marks where alien drones had been neutralized, broken branches arranged as if to mark a path, and faint glows of energy that pulsed rhythmically from the armor. He picked up the pace, adrenaline sharpening his senses. He moved silently, aware that the forest itself seemed to watch him, and the whispers of distant creatures echoed eerily around him. Suddenly, movement to his left made him freeze. He ducked behind a thick trunk, peering through the luminescent moss. A group of drones, more advanced than the ones from the previous night, patrolled the area. They had sleek metal shells, jointed legs, and glowing red sensors. Ethan's pulse quickened. He knew that fighting them head-on would be suicidal. He needed a plan. Carefully, he crept forward, using shadows and foliage as cover. The drones scanned the forest methodically, their movements precise and calculating. Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the alien woman's guidance from the previous encounter. Her telepathy had allowed him to anticipate danger before it appeared. Could she still be near, guiding him without him realizing it? He trusted that she was watching, though he could not see her. Hours passed as he navigated the forest, avoiding patrols and traps. Finally, the alien woman appeared, standing atop a ridge. Her armor glowed faintly, illuminating her surroundings in an ethereal light. Ethan approached cautiously. She looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and cautious trust. In her presence, he felt both awe and responsibility. She stepped aside, gesturing for him to follow. As they moved deeper into the forest, Ethan noticed the terrain changing. The trees became taller and more twisted, their branches intertwining to form natural tunnels. Bioluminescent vines draped like curtains, and the ground beneath their feet shifted subtly, as if the planet itself were alive. It was both beautiful and unnerving. Ethan had to remain alert at all times. One wrong step could mean injury or death. The alien woman led him to a series of shallow caves, hidden behind a waterfall of glowing liquid. The light refracted through the water, creating dancing patterns on the cave walls. Ethan could hear the faint hum of energy in the air, and as he stepped inside, he felt a strange warmth, a sense that this place was not just shelter but sacred. The alien woman paused, touching a section of her armor to the wall. The surface pulsed and shifted, revealing a hidden passage. She gestured for him to enter first, and he did, careful not to stumble. Inside the passage, the air was cooler, and the walls shimmered with embedded crystals. Light seemed to bounce endlessly, reflecting and refracting in ways that made it difficult to determine the true depth of the tunnel. Ethan kept his senses alert, aware that danger could appear at any moment. The alien woman moved gracefully ahead, her armor whispering faintly as it flexed and shifted with her movements. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a vast cavern, the ceiling high above lost in shadow. In the center of the cavern stood a crystalline structure, towering and intricate, pulsing with energy. Ethan realized that this was not just a place of refuge, it was a sanctuary. Perhaps it held the last remnants of her people, or the knowledge contained within her armor had a link to it. The alien woman approached the structure and placed her hands on it. The crystals pulsed more brightly, and a low hum filled the cavern, vibrating through Ethan's chest. As he watched, the alien woman began to communicate through images and emotions projected directly into his mind. He saw her people's history, their cities, their technology, and the tragedy that had befallen them. They had been hunted relentlessly by a distant species, forced into hiding, and reduced to scattered survivors. Her armor contained not just her own memories, but the collective knowledge of her civilization. If she were harmed or captured, all of it could be lost. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer just a scout on a mission. He was a protector, a guardian of knowledge and life. The alien woman's trust in him was absolute, even though they barely knew each other. He realized that humanity, despite its flaws, had a quality her people lacked: resilience, empathy, and the ability to improvise in moments of danger. Perhaps that was why she had chosen him. The calm of the sanctuary was shattered by a sudden tremor. The cavern walls quaked, and a deep, resonant roar echoed through the chamber. Ethan turned just in time to see a group of drones, larger and more heavily armed than any they had faced before, emerging from the tunnels. Their sensors glowed red, and their movements were precise, indicating advanced coordination and strategy. Ethan's heart raced. He had faced dangers before, but this was unlike anything he had imagined. The alien woman placed a hand on his shoulder, and he felt her thoughts, clear and urgent. "Protect me! Protect the armor!" Ethan nodded, drawing his sidearm and scanning for cover. He realized that brute force alone would not win this fight. They needed strategy, ingenuity, and trust in each other's abilities. The drones advanced, their weapons humming with lethal energy. Ethan fired carefully, aiming to disable rather than destroy, while the alien woman moved with precision, using her agility and telepathic guidance to avoid attacks and redirect the drones. Together, they created openings, forcing the attackers into traps set by the natural layout of the cavern. Ethan marveled at her coordination. Though she was alien, there was a rhythm to her movements, a silent communication that allowed them to work as one. As the battle continued, Ethan noticed the drones adapting. They were learning from each move, adjusting their tactics. He realized that they could not rely solely on speed and agility. They needed to anticipate the drones' behavior and outthink them. Drawing on his training and instinct, he began improvising traps, using fragments of broken crystals and the cavern's natural formations to create barriers and pitfalls. The alien woman responded instantly, guiding him where to place them and when to strike. Hours seemed to pass in a blur of motion, strategy, and tension. Finally, they managed to neutralize the immediate threat. The drones, damaged and disoriented, retreated into the tunnels, leaving Ethan and the alien woman alone in the cavern. They were both exhausted, breathing heavily, yet a sense of accomplishment filled the space between them. They had survived, but Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The alien woman approached him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and something deeper. She touched her armor, and he felt a surge of emotion, almost like a heartbeat resonating through the air. He understood then that her connection to the armor was profound, not just physical but spiritual and cultural. Removing it even partially was an act of trust, and she had allowed him to share in that trust during the battle. Ethan realized that their bond was growing stronger, forged through shared danger and reliance on each other. He had proven in a small way that humans could be more than hunters or explorers. They could be allies, protectors, and friends in the most alien of circumstances. The alien woman had chosen him for a reason, and he was beginning to understand that choice was not arbitrary. As they rested, Ethan reflected on the path ahead. The forest outside was still dangerous, the drones could return at any moment, and the larger threat to her people was still out there, waiting. Yet he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer alone. The alien woman's presence, her trust, and her guidance had changed him. Humanity, he realized, had the capacity to rise in ways even the most advanced civilizations might not expect. She finally spoke in his mind again, softly, almost a whisper. "You are more than you know. Protect the armor and our people may live." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle on him. He did not fully understand everything yet, but he knew that he would face whatever came next with courage and ingenuity. The cavern grew quiet, the hum of the crystals providing a calm backdrop. Ethan sat, cleaning and checking his equipment, aware that this brief respite was temporary. Danger was still out there, and the alien woman's enemies were relentless. But he felt something he had never felt on any mission before, a profound sense of connection, responsibility, and purpose. As night fell over Xyler 7, Ethan and the alien woman prepared to move deeper into the forest, toward the source of her people's legacy. Every step would be perilous, every decision critical, yet together they had already overcome impossible odds. The bond between human and alien was solidifying, a quiet testament to humanity's resilience, empathy, and courage. And in that moment, Ethan understood something essential: the survival of this civilization, the knowledge contained in her armor, and perhaps the future of the planet itself depended not just on weapons or technology, but on trust, ingenuity, and the extraordinary qualities that made humans human. Ethan felt the pulse of Xyler 7 beneath his feet as he followed the alien woman deeper into the forest. Every step was measured, cautious, yet purposeful. The forest had changed again. The glowing flora became taller, their light dimmer, casting long shadows that danced and shifted in the mist. Strange sounds echoed around them, some like distant wind, others like the whispering of creatures whose forms Ethan could not see. He had learned to trust his instincts, but even now the environment pressed on him with a strange weight, as if the planet itself were testing his resolve. The alien woman moved ahead with her usual grace, her crystalline armor catching faint streaks of light. Each movement was deliberate, almost ceremonial, yet there was no hesitation in her steps. Ethan had grown accustomed to her presence guiding him. He no longer thought of her as merely an alien. She was an ally, a companion, and a guide through this strange world. Her telepathic messages were now more fluid, her thoughts reaching him in full sentences rather than fleeting images. "The path ahead is dangerous," she said, "but we must reach the heart of the sanctuary. Only there can the armor's full power be revealed." Ethan nodded, gripping his weapon tightly. The memory of the drone's attack still lingered, the adrenaline pumping through his veins, reminding him that danger was never far. They had survived previous encounters through strategy, intelligence, and trust, but he knew that the next challenge would be greater. The forest felt alive, almost sentient, and he could sense that their adversaries were aware of their movement. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig could mean an attack. Hours passed as they moved, and Ethan began to notice subtle signs that they were not alone. Broken branches formed patterns, faint tracks in the glowing moss hinted at movement larger than the creatures they had encountered before. The alien woman paused, crouching low and placing a hand on the ground. A faint vibration resonated through the soil, one that Ethan felt in his chest. She looked at him, her blue eyes glowing softly, and he understood the enemy was near. From the shadows emerged figures, tall, humanoid but unmistakably alien, their bodies armored with dark, reflective material that absorbed the forest's glow. These were the hunters who had devastated her people, relentless in their pursuit. Ethan felt his heart race, but he did not hesitate. The alien woman stood beside him, radiating calm yet unyielding strength. Together, they faced the approaching threat. The first wave of hunters moved with astonishing speed, but Ethan had learned from the previous encounters. He fired strategically, aiming to disable limbs and slow their advance rather than destroy outright. The alien woman moved with precision, her armor flexing and shifting, deflecting attacks and creating openings for Ethan to strike. Their movements were synchronized, a silent communication that spoke of trust and shared purpose. As the battle raged, Ethan realized that brute force alone would not win this fight. The hunters were intelligent, adapting to their tactics in real time. He needed to anticipate their strategy, to think several moves ahead. Drawing on his experience and instinct, he led the hunters into a narrow ravine where their numbers became a disadvantage. The alien woman assisted, guiding him telepathically, showing him where the ground was weak, where traps could be set using the natural environment. The hunters fell one by one, ensnared by traps or blocked by fallen rocks and twisted roots. Ethan and the alien woman moved as a single unit, each step precise, each action deliberate. Finally, the last hunter was disabled, its body crumpling against the rocky terrain. The forest fell silent, the echoes of battle fading into the distance. Ethan breathed heavily, adrenaline still coursing through his veins, but he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had survived once more, but he knew the true test was yet to come. The alien woman led him further, deeper into a hidden canyon where the air shimmered with faint energy. The walls were lined with crystals that pulsed with a soft blue light, resonating in harmony with her armor. Ethan realized they had reached the heart of the sanctuary, the place she had been leading him to all along. It was a chamber unlike anything he had seen, vast and awe-inspiring, filled with crystalline structures that seemed to hold consciousness within them. She approached a central pedestal, placing her hands on its surface. The crystals responded immediately, glowing brighter and sending ripples of energy through the air. Ethan felt a warmth, a resonance that seemed to connect him to the planet and to the alien woman. He understood that this was not just a physical space, but a nexus of her people's knowledge, their history, and their essence. The armor she wore was a key, a bridge to unlock the full potential of this sanctuary. Ethan watched as the alien woman's armor shimmered, reacting to the energy of the crystals. Slowly, deliberately, she allowed him to touch a portion of it. The moment his hands made contact, a flood of information surged through his mind. Images of cities, starships, and civilizations long forgotten. He saw glimpses of battles fought, of cultures built and lost, and the resilience of a people who had endured against impossible odds. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. He realized that humanity's involvement could determine whether this legacy survived. As he absorbed the knowledge, the alien woman spoke in his mind again, her voice calm and commanding. Only through unity can our knowledge be preserved. Your strength, your courage, and your empathy are the key. You are part of this now, just as we are part of you. Ethan nodded, understanding that the bond between them was not merely physical, it was a merging of purpose and trust. Suddenly, a tremor shook the sanctuary. The walls quaked, and energy rippled violently through the chamber. Ethan and the alien woman turned to see the hunters returning, more numerous and more formidable than before. They had traced their path, and now they sought to destroy both the sanctuary and the armor. Ethan's heart pounded, but he did not falter. He had learned, he had adapted, and he was determined to protect the legacy entrusted to him. The alien woman moved with precision, guiding Ethan through defensive positions. They used the sanctuary itself as a weapon, channeling energy from the crystals to create barriers and disrupt the hunters' movements. Ethan improvised, combining his knowledge of human technology with the alien energy, creating traps and diversions that turned the tide of the battle. The hunters were relentless, but they underestimated the synergy between human ingenuity and alien guidance. Hours passed in a blur of strategy, action, and coordination. Ethan's mind raced, yet he felt a clarity he had never known before. Every movement, every decision mattered. The alien woman's presence was a constant guide, her telepathic projections offering insight and foresight. Together, they created a web of defense that no single enemy could penetrate. Finally, the last of the hunters fell, incapacitated by a combination of crystal energy and human improvisation. Silence returned to the sanctuary, broken only by the hum of the crystals and the steady breathing of Ethan and the alien woman. They were exhausted, yet triumphant. The bond between them had been forged through shared danger and unwavering trust, and Ethan felt a profound sense of purpose. The alien woman approached him, her eyes reflecting gratitude and something deeper, a recognition of his courage, his resilience, and his humanity. She placed her hands on his shoulders, and he felt the resonance of her energy, the depth of her trust. "You have proven yourself," she said. "The armor's knowledge is safe, and our people's legacy can continue. You have shown what humanity is capable of." Ethan understood then that this journey had changed him. He was no longer just a scout or a protector. He was a bridge between species, a testament to the power of empathy, courage, and ingenuity. The alien woman's people, their history, and their future were now intertwined with his own, and he knew that he would do whatever was necessary to ensure their survival. As the first light of Xyler's 7 twin suns filtered into the sanctuary, Ethan and the alien woman stood together, the forest outside calm once more. The armor shimmered softly, a symbol of trust, knowledge, and unity. Ethan realized that humanity, despite its flaws, possessed qualities that could shine brighter than technology or force alone. Courage, intelligence, and empathy could overcome even the most advanced adversaries. The alien woman finally allowed him to remove a section of her armor fully, revealing intricate patterns and embedded crystals that glowed with inner light. Ethan handled it with care, understanding the significance of every detail. The armor was more than protection. It was a repository of life, memory, and culture. By protecting it, he had protected an entire civilization. Ethan felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of awe, responsibility, and connection. The alien woman stood beside him, free of the constraints of the armor, yet more powerful in presence than ever. They had faced impossible odds, relied on each other's strengths, and emerged victorious. Humanity's role, fragile yet extraordinary, had proven itself once again. The sanctuary pulsed with life, the knowledge of the alien civilization safe, yet ready to be shared with those who would respect it. Ethan understood that his journey was far from over, but the trust and bond he had earned would guide him forward. The alien woman looked at him, her gaze filled with respect and something unspoken, a promise of partnership, trust, and shared destiny. Ethan Carter had begun his mission as a simple scout. He had faced unknown dangers, navigated alien worlds, and confronted relentless enemies. Yet through it all, he had discovered the true strength of humanity: courage in the face of the impossible, ingenuity in the moments that demanded it most, and empathy that bridged the gap between species. As they prepared to leave the sanctuary, Ethan felt a quiet confidence. Xyler 7 was still dangerous, the universe still uncertain, yet he knew that together, human and alien could face whatever challenges awaited. The armor, now fully revealed and understood, stood as a testament to trust, unity, and the extraordinary potential of life itself. In that moment, Ethan realized something profound. Humans were capable of greatness not because of their technology or weapons, but because of their hearts, their minds, and their willingness to rise to the occasion. The alien woman had chosen him, and in doing so had shown him the true meaning of partnership, trust, and shared destiny. And with that understanding, Ethan stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face the universe alongside the alien woman, carrying the knowledge, legacy, and hope of a civilization that had endured against impossible odds. Humanity had triumphed not through force, but through courage, ingenuity, and the bonds that made them uniquely strong. The adventure was far from over, but for the first time, Ethan felt certain that no matter what lay ahead, humanity could shine brightly in the darkest corners of the galaxy. Together, they would write the next chapter, not just for themselves, but for all those who had come before and for those yet to come.